Hi, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Ren.
I'm Justin.
And we are
Looking Forward.
This week we're going to be discussing a new perspective on education.
So I kind of wanted to have this just kind of a free flow because I think that we're at this time where there's rapid change, and I'm going to throw a few questions out there. What is the purpose of education?
In theory or historically? In theory, the purpose of education is to inform people and get them ready to be able to encounter the world in an informed, thoughtful manner through critical thinking skills and base knowledge in different areas. Historically, it's primarily been used to prepare people to perform repetitive tasks in factory environments, as George Post says in The End of Education. But that's not the idea.
No. I think that higher education has gone beyond just factory environments, but I do think that it is still a fair amount of job preparation. Now, if you go back, the idea of education, I think if you look at like Aristotle, Socrates types of stuff, the idea is to basically teach people to learn, teach people to explore. And I think that particularly living in a democracy, I think that's extremely important so that people can make informed choices, informed decisions, and encourage informed debates. What do you think?
I've thought about this just like in my own life. I mean, one thing I've often said was, I think the purpose of education is to help us recognize patterns of the past so that we can better survive and hopefully thrive in the future environment that we might find ourselves in. And where I'm actually, as I'm kind of like going through this in my own mind, I'm thinking about, well, what is education to me? And so one thing that I'll put forth is I want to be able to encourage everyone to live each and every day, each and every moment of their life, with passion and according to their purpose. And so it's made me think about, well, how can we do that? How can we help people discover what it is that their purpose is so that they can live that way? And what is education to help them get there? And one other thing, and I'll just throw it out there and we can kind of talk about this, is Ashoka. I don't know if you're familiar with Ashoka, but Ashoka International, they're a social entrepreneurship company, and they have put forth a new kind of, they call it, I guess it's the empathy requirement. And so it put a very interesting take on education is not just, what we thought it was, or say that, STEM, science, technology, and math. And, this idea that empathy is a human quality that needs to be cultivated. I'm just throwing it out there. You guys.
Well, at that point, you're drifting into teaching ethics, which I think is extremely important. And I really do think you're correct. I think there are different parts of education. When I referred to the historical use of education to train people to perform repetitive jobs, I was mostly referring to primary education.
Right, like the Prussian model.
Yes. And that is what we used. I mean, it's very clear that's what we used for a period of time. Higher education is supposed to provide guidance to people as to how to think. And I think, by and large, it does a fairly good job.
When you take out, because as we've talked about, if jobs are going away, then that job training aspect of education, by extension, has to vanish, because you can't train people to do something that they can't do, that they don't need to do.
That won't accept you.
I had a question. Is it fair to say that another reason that we educate our minds is because we're human species for survival, and the people that can educate their minds with the best, most knowledgeable information and put it to use are better equipped to survive in that future world? I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, why do we go to school? I mean, why do we go to school for, how many years as a kid, and then, why do we pursue, bachelors or, PhDs? Because you're at the top of the top of the top.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you were, I mean, to compete wise, you have much better understanding of what's to come than many of us that say haven't gone down that road. And how do we? Is our current system the way that we are maybe teaching? Are we setting people up for this reality that you're seeing coming down the pipe, or are we just kind of wasting?
I do want to throw out really quickly a cynical answer to your question of why do we have school? Why do we, educate children, for example? A cynical answer to that, but also a real one, is the fact that mom and dad had to work.
Daycare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's both cynical and
A reality.
actual.
Yeah.
And that will also be, that's one of those opportunities that we could have
Yes.
to make the world.
And there are other things than just knowledge that the kids are learning at school. They're learning to cooperate.
Socialization is very important.
Yes. Yes.
And maybe empathy now.
There has been, and there continues to be, despite the best efforts of a lot of educators, a tendency to still use schools to train people for positions that, frankly, are becoming much, much, much less numerous already.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you're correct, warehouse the children.
This is interesting. We were kind of joking a little bit earlier. I mean, but I had said something that, okay, in theory, right? You've got a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old child, and your child wants to be a dentist. But you're thinking to yourself, well, hey, by the time they get out, do you, as a loving parent, do you tell the kid no, or do you see that the pursuit of that makes the kid happy or joyous?
I think you
don't tell the kid Santa Claus doesn't exist until he figures it out himself.
And we don't honestly know exactly what's going to happen.
That I did a reflection video, and that was part of what I talked about. There was the fact that we don't know yet that we're going to have this massive unemployment, and there are things to look for.
I think we have a pretty sure set of indicators, and there needs to be the conversation engaged in by all the people to figure out what path we're taking. But even if we end up with a completely different system of political economy, having trained dentists, even if dental work is being done by robots, is still worthwhile.
Because
we don't know. There may well be,
just in
out
case,
where we live,
yeah,
there are many, many, many Amish and quite a few Mennonites, and I've learned the difference between the two groups, which I did not historically know. And I go to a dentist who doesn't have a visible computer in his office. There is no computer that an Amish person coming in to have dental work done would have to interact with or would see. It looks like an office from my childhood. Now they do, the nurse told me, have an office in the back that patients never see where there's a computer to do prescriptions on. Other than that, this looks like an office out of the 70s. Not everyone, in my opinion, is going to accept the changes. And I do expect that we will be looking at communities that are living differently.
You also have the idea that essentially, if we move forward on some of the paths that a lot of the major thinkers are considering, hopefully we will have this automation in some sort of way that people can continue to subsist in it. But you also go to Voltaire a little bit here with, the purpose of work. And one of those purposes is that it gives your life purpose. Mm-hmm. And some people will want to work. And, in medicine, it's kind of a weird thing because we may end up getting to the point where the robots are just better. But when you even look at Da Vinci, which is the surgical robot, that has a human being ultimately watching over it and guiding it.
Today.
Yes. Will it be better in the future? Yes. But will that human being still be able to add some value? And I think that's still likely.
And so I guess the question is, should we be doing anything differently? Should we be thinking, any differently? Are there some occupations that, sure, maybe we should continue to pursue, and some we should just...
Preparing people that are 5 now through an educational process for factory work is almost child abuse.
Yeah.
The jobs are not going to be there, period. And so, yeah, I do think there are some things where we have to say, and that's why these educational commissions, there are dueling educational commissions working on these things. There are a number of educational commissions that are trying to figure out ways to improve education for the children and what they have to do in the future. And then there are a number of educational commissions working primarily for different state governments, trying to figure out how to change the education so that it is more efficient. And of course, they're working at exact cross purposes with the reality of what's coming.
I would also say that if you're talking about a job that the child's like, I guess I have to do something, maybe it'll become a dentist, then, I don't think there's really harm in, if you will, smashing the bubble. Although, if you also don't want to eliminate their desire and drive to do well. On the other hand, if it's something that they're looking forward to, number one, we don't know that there won't be an opportunity in that. So you don't know if Santa Claus is real in this case. And secondly, if you're talking about anyone, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, even a 15-year-old, what they think they want to do and what they are going to end up wanting to do may be vastly different. So why share their dreams?
Not only from the child's perspective, but this is time and resources. From a planning standpoint. If you're a financial planner and you're sitting down with families and they've only got X number of dollars today, but they really value their son's education, but an extra $1,000 a month going to a 529 plan versus, maybe there's a good chance that this money is never going to be used in the future because of how much weight do we put on a guy like Kurzweil and some of these. Do we tailor that back and put that towards some of the more immediate family goals? The immediate family needs.
I would tend to say no, because I think that is like any other like anything in investment, there's always risk, and I think that is a risk, but I think there's also an associated risk with not putting that forward.
Maybe I'll just take the opposite approach.
Please.
That if we really, we're sitting here talking about the future, if we really think like a guy like Kurzweil isn't just some, crazy thinking.
He's clearly not crazy.
If we really, really believe that there's a very good chance, maybe it's not, here or there, but we think, within this, then, and also, their type of thinking is suggesting that education is the cost of education is going to drop precipitously as we move further and further into this future. So if we hold these two tenets true, I'll take the other side of that and say maybe we do want to start to think about people that are planning, because I know a lot of people are putting they're delaying, gratification for their family today because of this, and this has worked in the past. But as we're going to talk about in our next segments, is this different? And what could that extra? Maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's $5,000 a month. I don't know what people's situation, but are there like immediate needs that people could? I don't know. I'm
going to make the odd comment that I would not recommend investing in an inflexible instrument. And what it sounds to me like you're saying is that you can't use it for anything but education.
Right.
My sincere hope would be that whoever wins our election is serious about providing free education. Because frankly, for a meaningful life in the future, in ways that have not been true in the past, people are going to need an education. And that education should not be something they have to pay for, in my opinion.
I think there's a lot more here, but I think we should.
Oh, there is a lot more here, but I think that we're going to have to cut the video.
But we encourage. We encourage everyone watching.
Like, share, subscribe,
Have a
comment,
conversation.
and make a response video. If we get response videos, try and put links in our videos to your videos and make life great for everyone. So, thank you, and keep looking forward.